Okay, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Ahmed Yasser, and today I'm presenting on a fascinating yet often overlooked branch of philosophy, that is axiology of science, definitions, and its importance. Before we dive deep, I'd like you to think about this question. When a scientist develop groundbreaking technologies, should they only focus on how they built them, or should they also consider why and whether they should be built? This question lies at the heart of our discussion today. Let me start with an overview of our modern world. Science and technology have advanced at an incredible pace. We've developed artificial intelligence, biotechnology, space exploration, and also countless innovations that have genuinely improved our lives in healthcare, education, communication, and so much more. However, and this is crucial, this advancement comes with challenge. Not all technological breakthroughs are inherently good. Without proper ethical guidance, science can be misused. We've seen examples throughout history, like weapons of mass destruction, privacy violation through surveillance technology, also environmental damage from unchecked industrial progress, even discrimination embedded in AI systems. This is where axiology becomes essential. Axiology serves as a moral compass for researchers, scientists, and technologists. It guides them to ensure that their innovation don't just advance human knowledge, they advance humanity itself, and they do so responsibly. Think of it this way. We can't just invent something because we can. We need to ask, should we? Will it harm anyone? Does it serve the greater good? These are axiology questions. Okay, so what is axiology? Let's define axiology clearly. The word comes from two Greek roots, that is axios with meaning of value and logos with meaning of study or discourse. So axiology literally means the study of values. More specifically, in the context of science, axiology is the philosophical study of values, particularly concerning how knowledge and technology should be used. In scientific practice, axiology focuses on ensuring that science serves humanity and is used ethically for the common good. It's not just about accumulating knowledge or building powerful tools, it's about ensuring those tools are used wisely and ethically. This is fundamentally different from the scientific pursuits. Physics asks how do objects move, chemistry asks about how do substances interact, but axiology asks what should we do with this knowledge and what are the moral implications of it. Okay, next. Axiology's relationship with other philosophies. To understand axiology better, we need to see how it relates to other philosophical disciplines. Philosophy of science typically has three main branches and they work together. Ontology asks about what exists, what is the nature of reality. It's the foundation understanding what's real and what's fundamental to existence. Epistemology asks, how do we know? And how do we acquire knowledge? It explores the methods and validity of scientific inquiry, the research methodologies, the evidence standards, and how we justify our claims. But axiology asks, what should we do with what we know? What are the values behind science? Here's why this matters. Ontology and epistemology are often the focus of scientific study. We spend time understanding reality and developing better methods to study it, but axiology adds the crucial ethical dimension. It ensures that science isn't just powerful, but it's also wise and responsible. Axiology complements the other two by ensuring that science serves human values and the common good, not just the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. So, the key concept in axiology. Axiology focuses on two main areas. Let me explain each. The first is ethics. Ethics in axiology deals with morality, distinguishing between right and wrong, good and bad. It emphasizes responsibility. When a scientist designs a study or develops technology, they must consider the ethical implication. Who will be affected? Could this cause harm? Am I being honest in my research? The second is aesthetic. Aesthetic might seem strange in the context of science, but it's important. It involves beauty, harmony, and balance. Science should be elegant and balanced, not just effective, but also thoughtful about how it impacts the world aesthetically and socially. Together, these areas ensure that axiology asks a fundamental question. Does this science bring benefits or harm the humanity? Without ethical consideration, science becomes dangerous. A brilliant scientist with no moral compass is like a skilled surgeon with no understanding of consent. The technical ability exists, but the ethical foundation is missing. Next, axiology and the philosophy of science. Now let's clarify axiology's position within the broader philosophy of science framework. As I mentioned earlier, philosophy of science has three main branches. The first is ontology, the second is epistemology, and the third is axiology. Why this structure matters? This structure is logical. First, we establish what exists, that is ontology. Then, we develop methods to understand it, that is epistemology. Finally, and importantly, we ask what should we do, and with that understanding, that is axiology. Many educational systems focus heavily on the first two. We teach science as the study of how things work, but we often neglect the third question. For what purpose should we use this knowledge? This is the critical oversight. Axiology doesn't replace ontology and epistemology, for sure. It integrates with them. They inform each other. Our understanding of reality shapes our values, and our values guide how we conduct research and we choose to investigate. This brings us to one of the most important aspects of axiology. That is the explicit role of ethics in scientific work. Why ethics matter? Science is not purely objective. Yes, we collect data and perform experiments, but scientists are human beings with values, and science operates within society. Science is not just about theoretical knowledge; it's about responsibility. Consider this: a researcher could conduct a study that violates people's privacy to gather data. Technically, they might get valid results, but ethically, that's unacceptable. This is where ethics become inseparable from good science. Let me outline three fundamental ethical principles that axiology emphasizes. The first is honesty and data. This means accurate representation of research results. Scientists must not fabricate data, cherry pick results to support predetermined conclusions, or misrepresent findings. Honesty is the foundation of scientific integrity. If we can't trust the data, we can't trust the science. Second is accountability. So, scientists must understand and take responsibility for the impact of their research on society. If your research could lead to environmental damage, job displacement, or social inequality, you need to be aware of that and consider the implications. Accountability means you can't just say, I was just doing the research. You must also consider the consequences. The third is the benefit to society. The research should contribute to the common good. This doesn't mean every research project must directly solve a social problem, but it should ultimately serve human welfare rather than cause harm. The goals of science should be aligned with human values. So, the conclusion of this section is this principle, honestly, accountability, and social benefit from the ethical backbone form the ethical backbone of axiology. Without them, science loses its moral foundation. So now let's discuss why axiology is more important than ever. We're living in an age of transformative technologies. Let me highlight these areas. The first is AI, the second is biotechnology, and the third is communication technologies. So, in all these cases, axiology helps ensure that these technologies are developed and deployed with ethical consideration. It keeps us focused on the first is human rights, protecting individuals from exploitation and abuse. The second is social equity, ensuring benefits are distributed fairly, not concentrated among the wealthy, among the wealthy. And the third is environmental sustainability, considering long-term impacts. And the fourth is democratic values, preventing technology from being used to manipulate or control the populations. Without axiology, we risk creating a technological society where innovation runs unchecked and consequences go unconsidered. With axiology, we can innovate responsibly. So, let me share how some of history's greatest thinkers have approached this topic. Immanuel Kant. Kant was a foundational figure in ethics. He argued that morality should be the foundation of scientific work. He developed the concept of the categorical imperative, which essentially asks if everyone acts as I'm acting, will the world be better or worse? This principle can guide scientists. If every scientist made decisions like I'm making, would science serve humanity well? Kant's insight is that ethics isn't separate from science, it's central of it. And Auguste Comte. Comte, say, Comte saw science as a means for social progress. He believed science could improve society. However, and this is important, we also emphasize that science must remain grounded in human values. Technological power without human values leads to disaster. Comte understood that science serves society, not the reverse. Jürgen Habermas. Habermas, a more contemporary philosopher, highlighted the importance of ethics in communication. He was particularly concerned that science would be manipulated by political agendas and power structure. He advocated for communicative rationality, the idea that scientific knowledge should be openly discussed in democratic forums, not controlled by elites. This protects science from being weaponized for political purpose. And in Islamic philosophy, we find remarkably consistent insight. Al-Farabi, Al-Ghazali, and Ibn Sina were medieval Islamic philosophers who emphasized that knowledge is not an end itself. Rather, knowledge is a means to trust and proximity to God. Importantly, they insisted this pursuit should be undertaken with moral integrity. Knowledge pursued dishonestly or for selfish purpose is considered spiritually problematic. This Islamic perspective shows that the concern for ethical science isn't uniquely Western. It's a universal human concern grounded in spirituality and morality. Across cultures and centuries, great thinkers have recognized that science and ethics are inseparable. Axiology formalized the insight into philosophical practice. Okay, so that is my presentation. Thank you for the time with me, and I'm really appreciate it. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.